For the city of Hattiesburg, having a new facility like this?
Well, we look at this not only as a thing that we want for Southern Miss Athletics, but the real civic interest is we don't have a venue right now for indoor concerts or shows. It's over 1,000 seats. You've got the facility we can carry, you've got Bennett Auditorium, you've got the Sanger, but they're pretty much capped out at 1,000. So to have a potential 5,000 seat venue that we can hopefully have more shows in this city is good for our quality of life and also good for our economics.
Can you kind of speak on the 1% tax of
Yeah.
how much longer is the duration supposed to be for that, and just how successful do you feel like it's been in playing a role with this?
So it was passed in 2019, 3-year amount, and that was one that Dr. Paul, when he worked for the city, helped spearhead. And so it's been very rewarding to see that come in. And we've had dozens of groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings for parks projects in the city. So I think our residents have already seen the value in it before this announcement today. But now the other half of that goes into motion. I can't say enough about the universities being fiscally responsible and just taking that and kind of putting that cash away so they can now borrow against it. So that it was renewed in 2022, the legislature in the city, and it'll be up for renewal again in 2026, which will take a city council vote and a legislative vote. For the city, we've been able to take the funds generated by the 1% tax, which considerably more than we first projected, and then leverage those against state, federal, nonprofit grants. And we've been able to touch every part of the city. And I really appreciate our residents taking that step of faith with us, going after that big thing, which is the Hattiesburg way. And while we are a town of 50,000, when we pool our interest, when we pool our collective will together, we can do extraordinary things. And we've seen that over the 140 years that we've been here, and I think this is a huge, critical next step for the city going forward.
Mayor, with that penny tax, is there a thought going forward or a timeline as to when that will cut off? Will there be continued renewals of that? Or?
So the way that local and private legislation works is every 4 years you have to go back for renewal. Sometimes the legislature will flex on that, but to go back, you have to go to the city council, which is answerable to the people, and they have to pass a recommendation to extend it, and they have to go to the Mississippi legislature, and the House and Senate and the governor have to agree to let you have it for 4 more years. I would think anybody that's been involved as a citizen, as a legislator, as a city councilman, or any other stakeholder can see the 1% tax is a wild success. We've been able to do so many parks projects in every part of the city. We now can, whether it's your neighborhood park or whether it's hosting a soccer tournament with 197 teams, we fill up our hotels, they fill up our restaurants. The economic activity generated from that investment, which keeps sort of renewing itself. When people come in, they spend money, it goes back into the kitty, and so we're just so thrilled with the success we've seen in the 1%. But now having this piece of that, the other half of that 1%, really starts to take shape. I think is a game changer for us in terms of getting more shows here, getting more quality of life, and just getting more economic activity.
Is there a certain percentage of that 1% that goes just directly to Southern Miss?
50-50.
50-50, okay, got it. And I wondered how much you personally or just the city of Hattiesburg was involved in this planning process, or what kind of input you guys had.
I knew that if we could get the mechanism going, and it really did take a strong partnership and a lot of people just having trust in each other, to have the university administration at that time come forward and say, yes, we'll participate and we'll work with our legislators to get this approved for you to even have a referendum. For our city council to vote unanimously to get it to the legislature, and for both legislative houses to pass it, and then for 81% of our citizens back in 2019 to vote for it. We get that took a lot of trust and a lot of vision from a lot of people, and so we knew that the university would do the right thing in terms of doing a venue that would put us in a strong position athletically, but also make it available for public use to have more shows. I know that a lot of high schools have their graduations here at Reed Green Coliseum, and so you have that piece of it, but to also have concerts that the public can have access to. This will be Hattiesburg's arena, and I think the public should see it that way.
Of the 1%, I don't know if you could put a exact figure, but Jeremy said they get a check for that like once a month. What's the neighborhood of that figure?
Yeah, so typically it's about $150,000, $145,000, $150,000 a month. And it really depends on kind of what's going on. And if you're in summertime and you have a lot of visitors, obviously the check's going to be a little bigger. But typically we've seen, we were hoping for $100,000 to $120,000 a month, and we're at 140, 150 consistently now, and it's sometimes even more. And so it's been a great thing to see. And the more times that we're able to host tournaments, whether baseball or soccer or whatever, it just bodes well for that tax to bring in more revenue. And since we've passed it, you've seen neighboring cities do the same thing. Columbia did a 3%, Petal did a 3%, and I think people understand that, you know, if you're going to have facilities that your public can use, it's going to take investment.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.